One coaching candidate seems to have taken a commanding lead in the Auburn head football coaching sweepstakes.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. I got my man, Mike G from the War Rapport on here today, and we're going to talk about what else but the coaching search. And there's one candidate. He's kind of remained constant throughout the whole quote-unquote search, but he has taken a commanding lead in the betting odds. We're going to talk about that in a second. Is it a done deal? And everything that goes along with that. We're going to talk about coordinators. We're going to talk about everything. And then let's talk about maybe some doomsday scenarios. We'll talk about that as well. But let's jump right into it, man. I don't know if you've seen it, but John Sumrall has taken a commanding lead on the betting odds, which aren't necessarily the best predictor of the next coach. But right now, he is at minus 500, which is essentially a 2-touchdown favorite to become Auburn's next head football coach, with the announcement seemingly expected to be on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, which would be 5 days from now.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big lead with not a lot of time to go. Do you think that's pretty accurate?
I do think it's accurate. He is the overwhelming landslide favorite to get this job. And look, John Cohen has done his best to create a win-win scenario for Auburn in terms of player retention, getting a new coach, and coordinator retention, because Auburn also wants to keep some of these coaches as well, too. You have been absolutely thrilled with how things have gone defensively. So the idea is not to tear it all down if you don't have to.
Right.
Don't turn this into a rebuild. And if you start removing too many key pieces, whether it's coaches or players, that's where you're going to find yourself. And I'm impressed with Cohen so far in this search. I think he's handled himself well. I think he's handled himself professionally. And I think that they're shooting realistic shots at coach here. Find a good coach, but also don't pigeonhole yourself in going after a golden goose who's a long shot that's going to leave you high and dry in the 11th hour, which is what I think happened with Auburn 3 years ago with Lane Kiffin. He left them high and dry, and you ended up with Hugh Freeze. And John can say all he wants. Hugh was his first target. No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
That's who you ended up with, Kyle. So
yeah.
I like John Sumrall. I think those odds are accurate.
I do too. And I want to echo something on the coaching search deal. This is atypical to Auburn. Okay. It's atypical to have a candidate that you feel like was the obvious candidate and has been sort of locked in for a long period of time. And usually there's turmoil, there's different camps going in different directions. And I don't want to say that that's not 100% what's been going on behind the scenes. There may be some, suggestions of different coaches and things like that. But John Cohen's done such an incredible job of keeping people from chasing rabbits. You know what I mean? Like he's kept it all sort of underneath the same roof. There's just not all these random, names popping up, these factions growing. He kind of seems like he's got everything reeled in. And another thing that you said, this is not like hiring a coach 5 years ago. This isn't even like hiring a coach like when you hired, I would even say, Freeze or Harsin, because now the portal is, to me, at its peak. The portal and NIL, everything's sort of settled down a little bit. So to me, it's like at the peak of importance. And when you have the roster built to the way it's built, you got to make decisions other than just like you did back in 2005, just cut bait, hire a new guy and let him bring everybody in. Like, you got to really think about all of the different ramifications of your decisions. And John Cohen seems like to me, you talk to him more than me, he does not want this thing to be another 3 years. Like, it seems like his mindset is, we want to win in 2026. How can we get the best coach we can get, surround him with the best coaches he can be surrounded with, and keep as many of these players that we feel like are the heart, I guess, the soul of this team possibly making a run in a very short period of time. I've been thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, look, I think that this is kind of like the good side of NIL is that we, instead of chasing the shiny new thing, we're reinvesting in the thing that we already bought.
Right.
And what does that mean? Well, it means we already spent millions on this roster. I'm not going to find. I'm working harder to keep Cam Coleman than I am going to try to find the next one, and try to keep that Cam Coleman on campus for 3-4 years until he breaks records, and then he goes on. Now, there may be a 0% chance that he stays past the year that he's draft eligible, but if you can create a positive enough environment from a financial standpoint and a social standpoint, there is an opportunity to get a guy who is at the pinnacle of his career and maybe on everybody's list. It's how we got Janai back. It's how we got Taha back.
Exactly.
Right? You take care of them financially, and here's what I love about Auburn over someplace like Alabama. Auburn is an awesome place. I had some
not easy. It's not super tough to stay here, is it?
Yeah, right. Like Kyle, I had some friends who came to visit me from DC. For those who know my story, before I got sick and had to move home, I was living in Washington DC, and when I had to move home in a hurry, so I left a lot of my stuff there, and I had to go back and move out. But I left my friends kind of abruptly, and a lot of them didn't get a chance to say bye. And so they were like, we're going to come down to Auburn to a home football game. And they came to like a non-con, so I couldn't get them to like Georgia or, one of the good ones. But they came to experience the Eagle Flight and Tiger Walk, and, it was really cool for them. But the two that came first said they had never been to Alabama before. And when they came to Auburn, it shattered all of their preconceived notions about what it's like to live in the state of Alabama.
Yeah.
And I love this because outside of the South, and I lived in the West Coast for a long time, everybody thinks we're hicks and we all live in trailers, and they all think that we're all like these low lives. And then they come here and they go to like downtown Birmingham, or they come to Auburn, and you go to Huntsville, some of the nicer places in Alabama, and you'll go out to Lake Martin, and you're like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, exactly.
That is an advantage that Auburn has. Tuscaloosa is literally America's junkyard. That place sucks, man. It is a awful
shrapnel right now.
It is an awful place to live.
Yeah.
And outside of going to school there, nobody really just wants to hang around Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, you don't see many people stay. They don't really hang around. You're right.
I mean, every Auburn coach, they buy houses in the state. They stay in the state because their experience is Auburn, and they just try to go a little bit outside of Auburn, and they find some land, or they go up 280 to Lake Martin, and they chill. And even if they take another job somewhere, they'll always have a home here, or their kids end up going to school here, and then suddenly they can't leave because the community. It was the hardest part for me when I moved out west, was missing my community.
Yeah.
I remember I had like a complete like mental break 20 months after I moved out to Vegas, and my best friend calls and he was like, "You just need some family," because for so long at Auburn, we were just a stone's throw away. Right. And if I felt like that, imagine what the players are like leaving their community, man. It's hard to leave. So you got that over everybody else. Auburn is truly a special place, and it helps if it can help you retain. Where I'm going with all this is, if the guys actually want to stay here, retention is easier. And if you're Cohen, you're thinking, look, there's a lot of pressure on me because I missed on my first hire.
Yeah.
So nobody wants to
Whether
sit
that's
with me.
justified or not, it is the perception that he missed on the first hire.
Nobody wants to sit with me for another 3 years while I scream patience for a second. Coach, I gotta keep this roster together, and I gotta hire a guy who can take this talent and hit the ground running. Now, before we move on, I just want to again encapsulate all what I just said by before Vanderbilt. I said, what if Auburn drops 40 on Vandy? And everyone came through my comment section calling me a clown and an idiot. And they were like, how much different could it look in 1 week? And I was like, if you understand fundamentally what was wrong with this offense, it could look very different. And for all intents and purposes, they went out and dropped 40.
Yeah. Just two
and
shots.
Lost in overtime.
Yeah.
Come on, man. This thing is ready to go for the right coach. And the schedule next year is brutal, but I think they can win next year, man.
With the right guys, totally 100%. We're going to talk about some of those guys potentially. If this is a done deal, okay, you got a head coach. Let's talk coordinators as well. We'll get all into that in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to me, Kyle Rush with Keller Williams Real Estate, part of the Legacy Property Group. Email me at kylerush@kw.com. Been getting a lot of questions, a lot of feedback from you guys asking, hey, talk about these investment opportunities. Talk about, hey, we're looking to build. Where can we get land? Stuff like that. I'm here to help. So definitely give me a shout. You can leave us a voicemail also at 334-245-3615. Would love to help you and your family. And then also rowback.com. Use coupon code BARN20 to take 20% off your order. Polos, hoodies, pullovers. Doesn't matter. They have Auburn licensed apparel as well. Save big. Show them some love. It's rowback.com. We'll be back right after this. All right, Mike, if this thing is a done deal, you got to have coordinators. You got to have coordinators. You got to have other coaches. I think the biggest conversation, and some people view this with a negative connotation, and it drives me crazy, but this whole, why does Auburn force coaches on people? Or why does Auburn do this? Or, nobody else does this. Why do we make it hard for ourselves? And I'm talking about DJ Durkin because it's always seemed to be like the first question is going to be the retention of players. And the second question, and maybe these are flip-flops sometimes, is what happens with DJ Durkin, because he's done such a good job. He's built such a great rapport with this team. They love him. Talk about that in general, like the aspect of a new coach coming in and keeping DJ Durkin, and then what are your feelings on him actually being retained?
Look, his retention is being looked at the wrong way by a lot of people. A lot of people are saying, well, I don't know if I want a coach who's letting their AD pick their coordinators. That's not what's happening. I've tried to clarify this for people, so I'll clarify it for the Barn listeners as well, too. What's happening is John Cohen is asking these candidates, what does your dream staff look like? And every single one of them said, will DJ Durkin stay? Right, because they know that he potentially wants the job, but it is fair to ask whether he would stay in a secondary role to a job that he wanted.
Sure,
if he gets passed over for it. So it appears as if John has got the buy-in from DJ. If he doesn't get the job, to stay in that role. I would assume if you're DJ, it gives you some leverage to negotiate a raise, which he absolutely should do. I think the results warrant that. And
sure.
Him taking over as interim and doing the job that he has with these kids these last 2 weeks, we owe him, man. We owe him.
Big time. He
stepped in, and I know they only beat Mercer and you lost to Vanderbilt, but him naming Derek Nix the sole play caller and then vowing to stay out of the way and let that man do his job injected so much hope back into this fan base, to the point that we're going into an Iron Bowl worried about a defense we've trusted all year, and somehow way more confident in an offense that we've doubted all year.
Exactly.
So the offense though, being good gives you more of a feeling that Auburn could actually win this game than the defense being good, because the floor for the offense before was 0 touchdowns. And I can't tell you how many games would you, no matter how well I told you Auburn's defense was going to play, if I told you Auburn's going to score 0 touchdowns, you're not going to tell me they're going to win a conference game scoring 0 touchdowns.
No, can't do it.
Yeah, I don't care how many field goals Alex McPherson kicks either. You can lose any game where you don't score any touchdowns.
Any game, absolutely. Right. I think I'm with you. I think people are looking at this wrong too, mainly because, look, if you're a head coach, let's say you get hired at any school. What are your goals? I want to go. If I'm going to be a CEO, I want to go hire the best offensive coach I can hire, and then I want to go hire the best defensive coach that I can hire. It just so happens that one of the best defensive coaches in the country is already on the dadgum staff. So, like, it's not like we're handcuffing somebody and saying you have to take this bum. No, you get to take a guy that has had one of the best defenses in the country with no offensive support whatsoever. That the players love. So, like, you get to step in and you're going to be a hero for keeping him. Like, they're going to look at you with the same respect because you kept the guy that they love. And it's not like a scenario where you have a coach that's just there. Like, sometimes position coaches get held over and they don't necessarily contribute a ton, but they're just like fan favorites, they're player favorites, and those are kind of forced on people. And that's one thing. But this is a guy who I think is just okay right now. I think the idea of being a defensive coordinator, being the highest paid coordinator in college football, is a pretty sweet gig right now, to be completely honest. And I think DJ likes being a football coach, and sometimes the CEO piece of it takes you out of being that football coach. So that in and of itself, I think we got to make sure we look at the whole context of this situation and not just lumping it into every other scenario where a coach was forced on another coach. That's just not the case. Let's switch gears to offense, because you've been, I think it's pretty fair to say you've been kind of ahead of the game as far as offensive coordinator talk. I think it's fun to throw out names and dream, but you were very specific about some things that you've heard about a potential offensive coordinator candidate. And that name, honestly, excites me. So I want to steal your thunder. Tell us about offensive coordinator and what you're feeling there, and just all your thoughts around that.
Well, the way I initially reported it, I said there was an ACC offensive coordinator, current ACC offensive coordinator that Auburn was targeting. We did a live show with Dukes the Scoop, who you and I both know well, and we collaborate with. He's part of our content community. That Friday night, and I ended up releasing the name. It's Buster Faulkner, the current offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech. Now, this is a guy Eric Singleton is obviously very familiar with, but it appears that Auburn has alignment from the coaching candidates in serious consideration that they want to bring him in potentially as offensive coordinator should they get the job. And this is part of the work that Cohen is doing, not picking the offensive coordinator, but going and laying the groundwork with the guy that these guys say that they want. He reportedly does not want to return to Georgia Tech next year, no matter what. And so if you're Auburn, you're looking at who's available and who maybe fits what you want to do offensively. What we do know is everyone's chomping at the bit to get in and coach this talent.
Yes.
If you're Buster, you definitely want to call an offense with Deuce and Cam and Perry. And if you're Cam, you're looking at Buster Faulkner's offense, or you're talking to Eric Singleton right now, and you're saying, yo, is this dude legit? And what an advantage to Auburn to have Eric Singleton essentially on the inside recruiting for you if that's the guy you end up hiring.
I mean, I know maybe it's a long shot, but like, if he doesn't necessarily get the best draft feedback, would that not be something that would maybe entice Eric Singleton to want to come back for a senior year and see if he could bolster his stock? Like, he gets to go play for his old offensive coordinator who knows how to get him the ball in multiple ways. Like, I mean, that would be a fascinating hire. You're talking about the number one offense in the ACC currently. It's pretty crazy.
Now, you could there are going to be a lot of detractors that say, "Oh, but the ACC sucks," and they're right. The ACC does suck. I think it's one of the worst conference. I think they're the new pack. However, the system is good, and when you pair it with these players, it potentially is epic.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, look at what's happening on this team right now. We didn't even change systems; we just changed play callers.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah, and look how different it feels, like a completely different offense. And suddenly all these opportunities exist for playmakers to make plays that didn't seem to exist as much before.
This is so I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, like, and because someone's going to go to the comments and misconstrue what I'm saying here. Hugh Freeze's offense absolutely created opportunities because we saw Cam wide open at times. For whatever reason, guys weren't performing in those moments. And suddenly, and I want to take you back to Mercer. So we could both agree Cam has dropped some pretty routine catches this year.
Sure. Yep.
It's not a talent issue, right? I think it's a chemistry and a timing issue that was created by a bad process that's kind of followed to Jackson Arnold because he was Hugh Freeze's guy. So you remove him from the situation and you remove Hugh, and then suddenly all those routine catches are being made and he looks all world. And then for just a couple plays, you bring Jackson back in and he drops a routine catch.
Yeah. And then there's the point we were joking on the live stream that we said he did it on purpose.
Right. Yeah. And then there's a sack after you haven't had a sack the whole game. And you start seeing all the same stuff. And I think that just one small change can net a huge difference here for this team.
Sure.
So, yeah, I don't know, man. I think bringing in, Buster Faulkner and his system and keeping the players the same. And as long as you have your signal caller, as long as you have your trigger man, which is very important. Does he want to work with these quarterbacks? Does he want to go out and get a quarterback? I think that he's going to have to work with one of these quarterbacks because it's going to be Ashton and Deuce, or you're not going to get the job, in my opinion. Right? If you don't have a plan to try to make Deuce the starter in 2026, because it's up to Deuce to take it. But like, if you don't have a plan to try to make him the starter, I don't think this is the job for you. Especially after what we saw versus Mercer.
It's a unique. I'm all about cutting edge. Okay. I'm all about like trying to find a different way to do things to become successful and not always playing catch up. And usually when you hire a coach, he calls his buddies that he knows and he brings in his own staff. It's really cool to have a sort of, you're working backwards, so to speak. Like you're working to the point where you identify a couple of head coaching candidates. You kind of feel them out of hey, I tell you what, let's talk about dream coordinators. Let's talk about a dream scenario. It doesn't have to be people, like what offense out there embodies the vision that you have for the style of offense that you want to run at Auburn. And they give you those names, and then you kind of go work and secure those names on the back end. And you haven't even necessarily got your head coach yet. So whenever you come, you can kind of do it all at once. It's not this whole process where the coach comes in and then he starts interviewing candidates. You're kind of already doing it for them. And that's something that's not really very common, I don't feel like. And I think it's very intriguing to see this groundwork being laid on the front end so that when the guy comes in, he's basically got his dream staff. You would have one of the best offensive coordinators in the country, one of the best defensive coordinators in the country. I think that you marry those up with John Summerall's hard-nosed, blue-collar attitude, and then you throw the two of the best play callers on both sides of the ball underneath that, and he creates his culture around that. That to me that could be a special staff.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I'm so massively excited for what this could be.
Yeah,
this is going to be one of the best off seasons in Auburn history. After this coach comes
for us, for sure.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think that they're going to get a lot of these guys to stay. I think they're going to knock the coordinator hires out of the park. And I've been pretty close to the coaching search stuff. Kyle, like I know, when you are doing a lot of this stuff, there's only so much you can say and not say.
Sure.
Right, without exposing your source or messing something up, which is why I was initially hesitant to say who the offensive coordinator was until a couple of days later, and then you get the clearances you need and you can start putting it out there. But I think that Auburn fans are going to be so happy come 8A this year with what this looks like, with who's here doing it, and with the fact that the difference 1 year, one offseason can make in the outlook of the future of Auburn football. Same way Auburn went from 3-9 to national championship from 2012 2013. And you're not even that low this year.
No.
You're not 3-9. I mean, if you beat Alabama, you're 6-6. You're bowl eligible. Hell, you might even be. You've got so much talent. They might give 5-win Auburn a bowl team if it shakes out right.
Correct. Very well, especially if you go out and you have another good offensive performance. I think it'd be a very attractive, especially if you can get a Deuce Knight, a start in a bowl game. Be a very, very attractive bowl team at 5-7. We'd sell some tickets.
Those extra games matter. Those extra practices matter. I'm sorry, the extra practices matter, and the extra game matters. And I think DeMarcus Riddick's freshman year, we got him into bowl practice because he was an early enrollee.
Yeah, he did.
And I saw him running around out there, and they were so impressed with that young man. There's so much potential for this offseason. Go out and whoop Alabama's ass. Get to a bowl game, deny them a playoff spot, and send the board packing for Penn State, maybe like Happy Valley, and then start to lay the foundation for the next era of Auburn football. I posted this. I said, I wanted people to understand when Auburn has been able to find a good trigger man, it's been lights out. 2004 to 2007 was the winningest 4-year stretch of Auburn football history. And Brandon Cox was the quarterback for 3 of those years. You were 13-0 in 2004, and then you finished 42-9 in that stretch. That's
pretty solid.
Insane, right? I mean, you lost only 9 games. From 05 to 07. Obviously, 08 was the losing season that kind of broke that streak there, and Tuberville got fired. But boy, this school has always had the opportunity to get on a legendary roll. And I think that they're close to something here because they've amassed the talent. And now I just need the right system in place to help get these kids where they need to go. Hugh Freeze was right about one thing. And Josh Pate said this all the time on my show. He said, you can't outdevelop Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. Those guys are recruiting way too many dogs. You have to recruit dogs. And then you got to be able to develop and game plan and do that stuff on the same level as them to even come close to matching their results.
Still got to get dogs, though.
Yeah, but you got to go get dogs. I'm telling you, you can beat them every once in a while by out scheming them and tricking them. And that's how Hugh Freeze ends up with 2 wins versus Saban. Because you can do that every once in a while. But but how many SEC West championships did they win?
Yeah,
0.
exactly. None.
Because the consistency that you need is built on having talent that is so much better that when you have a bad game plan, sometimes the talent saves you.
Sure.
I think Hugh fell into the trap of thinking that he could out-recruit his poor development.
I think you're spot on. The attention to detail wasn't, I could just recruit myself and it'll overtake my lack of attention to detail or things of that nature. I'll just be able to go out and call all these plays with all these dogs out there and everything will take care of itself versus, being organized and doing it and building it the right way and having a good, solid foundation. I agree, man. I think could be on the precipice of some very fun times if everything plays out the way it looks like, at least the betting odds say, and then everything behind the scenes falls into place too. Mike, man, I really appreciate you jumping in. Tell everybody how they can find you and support you.
Guys, the deal. Head on to social media. Follow us at the War Rapport on every social media platform. TW Report on TikTok. Follow me at Mike Gittins on Twitter, at Mike Gittins _ on Instagram. I'm everywhere these days on the War Rapport, on the radio, on the news. Like we're on ESPN with Feinbaum. We're doing all the things, trying to bring you guys all the Auburn coverage you can handle. So just follow our socials, man, and lock in with us.
Love it, man. We'll talk again soon. Guys, really appreciate it. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.